What you're about to hear is arguably the most famous soundbite in the history of the NFL.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
You've all probably heard this before. It's the famous playoffs quote by Colts head coach Jim Mora following a loss to the San Francisco 49ers. But what you might not know is what happened after the fact. Because after this press conference happened, the drama that followed was also pretty newsworthy. You never hear anything about Peyton Manning ripping his coach and airing his frustrations to the media, except on this one occasion. This is the story of what happened after the playoffs rant, and the story of the time that Peyton Manning feuded with his coach. First, we need a bit of context as to why this rant ever happened. It's November 25th, 2001, and the Colts have a big game to play against the 49ers. After starting 4-3, they've dropped 2 in a row and have fallen below 500. The AFC is ultra competitive for that final wildcard spot, with a bunch of teams hovering around the 4-5 win mark. Indy desperately needs to win this game if they want to keep pace and make it to the postseason for the third year in a row. Instead, they play like garbage. Peyton Manning struggled big time, throwing 4 interceptions. At the time, this was the most picks he had ever thrown in a game. The final 6 drives for the Colts that day were an embarrassment. 3 Madden summed it up best.
Yeah, and if you believe you're going to win, then that low of not winning, is just beats the heck out of you.
Frustrated with the performance after the game, head coach Jim Mora delivered the famous playoff soundbite that has become so iconic in league history. But in the minute leading up to that quote, Mora ripped into one guy, and one guy only. That, as you might have guessed, was Peyton Manning. Now, Mora never actually referenced Manning directly, but based on the words said in the press conference, there's no other way to interpret his statement. Roll the clip.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay? I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't gonna beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked.
After getting called out like that by his coach, how did Peyton Manning respond? Safe to say, he didn't take it too kindly. Manning started off by saying he took full responsibility for the loss, saying usually you say you win as a team and you lose as a team, but I truly feel like I cost us the game. And he said that he had no problem with being coached, saying I can take it, I have thick skin, I have to be accountable. But as it turns out, what Moras said during the press conference was more or less exactly what he said in the locker room immediately after the game. And that's where Manning drew the line. He said that to be called out in front of the whole country bothers him, saying what went on in the locker room is our business. What bothers me is that what he said to us in that locker room has become the entire country's business, and I don't like that. Then, when someone asked him about Mora's comments seemingly being directed at him, even though Mora never mentioned his name, Manning said, "Seems, I think, is an understatement. He was talking to me. There's no question about it." And he doubled down some more, saying that Mora never spoke to him directly after the game or apologized. Mora called out Manning in front of the entire country without ever speaking to him one-on-one beforehand. The drama was so noteworthy that even other players weighed in on the matter. Rod Woodson sided with Manning, calling him one of the best in the league and saying that he was the reason they were winning so many games to begin with. Most notably, Tony Siragusa on the Ravens, who was Indy's next opponent, had some things to say. He called Mora's comments cowardly, jokingly suggested that Manning should be benched for their game against Baltimore, and said when the guy is the core of your offense and is a major part of your organization, and you whip him like that, I think that's totally, in Mora's words, diddly-poo. Eventually, Mora backtracked from his comments, saying that he loves Peyton and wouldn't trade him for any other quarterback in football. But the damage had been done by this point. Indy lost their next 2 games and finished the season at 6-10. Mora got fired after the season for a variety of reasons, including his decision not to fire defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, the drama between he and Edgerrin James, and of course, this incident. And to answer Mora's question, no, the Colts did not make the playoffs. In his near 2-decade-long career, you never hear any stories of Manning publicly criticizing his coaching staff and calling out his head coach. But there are exceptions to every rule, and nearly 20 years later, we definitely know who came out on top in the end. Special thanks to all our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron or request future video topics in the description below.